Hello, my YouTube subscribers, and to anyone else who might be jumping on here to watch this video, who's happened to stumble across my very small new YouTube page. So I have just been making a series of videos about my TTC journey, and so I'm on here right now just to do an update on kind of some testimonies actually that have come up since my last video. My last video was kind of, I had just explained kind of like the signs and things that were happening that just led me to believe that this is God's will, and kind of just explained my, what my journey has been this far with trying to conceive, even through 5 miscarriages just in the last 4.5 years. I had 2 before that, so it's been 7 so far total miscarriages. I have 2 boys, and yeah, so my husband and I have been just trying to have more babies for the last almost 5 years, and it's been a major journey, but God has shown me through this whole process, through all the ups and downs, he just keeps bringing me back to standing on his promises, and so that's where I'm at right now. And what I'm going to be sharing with you guys today are new promises that the Lord showed me, that I had no idea was even in our future, and, having to do with having children. And so it's kind of exciting. And it just gives us a little more insight into what we're supposed to be praying for. And so, so we're just on this journey, standing on God's promises. He's given us promises, and I just feel like we're in the midst of, we're walking toward the promised land is how I feel. I feel like we've kind of been in this wilderness journey, trying to figure things out. But I feel like God is just inching us closer to the promised land. And I feel like right now we're in a season of preparation. And so I feel like God's really opening my heart and my mind to what it looks like to prepare for his promise. And I had another thing come up today, another video I was watching that just stirred me up in my faith so much when it comes to preparing for the promise. And that's another thing that I've been told, and what I've heard, a word that I've heard from a lot of people lately that has come up is just that when God gives you a promise, when you're standing on a promise from God, that there's kind of a season of preparation that he'll take you through in order to prepare you or your atmosphere or your situation for that promise. And so I feel like that's where we've been. And again, I feel like we're just getting closer and closer to being ready to receive that promise. And I think, that I feel like we can see the promised land. It's coming, it's almost here. And I'm praying that it's like in 2022 is my prayer, is that we will see the fruition, the manifestation of God's promises for us. And so the other thing is, numbers have been coming up a lot lately. So I'm going to be talking about, and this has never happened to me in my faith journey, but I've been experiencing just seeing numbers, like multiples, triple digits, double digits, and stuff like that. And so I feel like God's opening my heart and mind to what that may mean as well. And so, yeah, a little bit about that coming up here soon. Okay, so first, I want to just give you guys an update. The last time I made my video, I was getting ready to go into nursing school. I did apply for that program. I got accepted, was supposed to start in January, at which point we ended up having to move my grandma in with us. So we kind of had like an emergency situation come up with my grandma. She was living out in the middle of nowhere, and she had some issues with her heat. And so it gets very cold where she's living. And so we had to go up and sort of rescue her and move her in with us. And so this was just before Thanksgiving. And so I just knew, with grandma being here and needing me, there was no way I was going to be able to start the nursing program. So I decided I was going to hold off and go in the fall. Well, I just recently went to go apply for the fall program, and was told that unless I'm willing to get vaccinated, that I will not be allowed to enter the program. So, and it's not our college that's mandating that, but the hospitals that we would be doing our clinicals on are mandating that the students are vaccinated, and so I'm choosing not to get the COVID vaccine, and so I'm waiting. So that's where I'm at. I'm just kind of exploring my options right now with the training that I already have, and so I'm going to make a video about that specifically, actually, after this one, and I will be releasing that hopefully this week as well. So if you guys are interested in learning about what I'll be doing instead of nursing, it's in the realm of preconception nutrition. So just be on the lookout for that video. So anyway, that's my update on nursing. And I kind of had like an epiphany today as to why maybe that's happening, and I'll talk about that in just a minute. But this is hopefully not going to be too long of a video, but I do have a lot to say, and so I'm going to try to get through it quick. But basically I'm going to talk about what God's been showing me, then I'm going to talk about numbers, and then I'm going to talk about just what he kind of showed me today. So yeah, here's my update. Okay, so a few months back, probably early November, I was just kind of praying about this journey that I'm on, and was praying about, God receiving the glory for what, just this conception, this, getting pregnant, this journey that I'm on. Just like in my mind, I'm wanting God to receive the glory. I'm wanting it to be like supernatural. I'm wanting to give God the glory and the credit for the outcome of, us getting pregnant and having babies, So that's what I'm praying about. And a couple months ago, and then shortly after that, I found myself on, I'm watching YouTube, and I know you guys probably are like me, because you're probably watching this video right now, because you're like me and you watch YouTube videos about things that you're interested in. And so I will often watch YouTube videos on conception, fertility, infertility, birth stories, people finding out they're pregnant and whatnot. So I happened to stumble across a video where couples were going in for their ultrasound, and they were finding out that they were having twins. So I'm just cleaning. A lot of times I'll just listen to videos and stuff while I'm cleaning my house or whatever. And I'm just cleaning and I'm listening to these videos, and it's, it's pretty cool. I'm thinking that's super cool that these people you're getting to see their reaction when they go into that ultrasound and they're like, oh, there's two. And they're just blown away and totally shocked. So anyway, after that, I was one day listening to a lady that I follow regularly, and she's a Christian lady, and she, I can't remember what the topic was that she was talking about, but at the end of this video, she starts explaining how, talking to the people who are listening who have gone through loss. And so she starts basically proclaiming and prophesying that for those of you who have lost children, she literally she starts out kind of vague, and she gets as specific as, for those of you who have lost children, miscarriages, that God is going to bless you with, double. And so she specifically said, like, God is going to give you twins. Like, she was like, that's a word for someone. God is going to bless you with twins because of what you've had to go through, what you've lost. And so, of course, like, this stirs me up, and I'm getting all excited. And, sorry, someone tried calling me. I'm getting all excited, and I'm thinking, okay, is that word for me, And so it's just starting to catch on. I guess it's starting to grab my attention, this idea about twins, because it was never on my radar before. And I'd never, prayed that God would give us twins or anything like that. So that happens with the lady that I listened to. And then that same day, so kind of this all happened within like a 2-week time frame, just this idea came up. And so that same day I'm listening to YouTube while I'm cleaning, and this girl, it was after that word I just heard, there was a girl who had gone in for an ultrasound, and she found out she was having twins. And so she's crying, and her husband's recording, and she looks at her husband and she's like, do you think that God gave us twins because we had a miscarriage? And so immediately I'm like, oh my gosh, like, is God bringing this idea to me? Like, is this is this a word from the Lord that like God's going to bless me with twins because of, the loss that I've gone through and the miscarriages that I've had? Like God is going to restore what's been taken from me. So, okay. So then maybe like the following week or something, I'm with a friend of mine. She's she's been my mentor, and I've told you guys about her. She's the one that had the vision of our daughter, the very first time that like God confirmed to me through someone else that yes, you're going to have children. So I go to her and I are praying, and I just decide to bring up this idea, that God's been kind of showing me, and I'm just wondering if God's going to give us twins. And so at the end of our, my shirt's bothering me, sorry guys. So at the end of our discussion, she and I are praying, and she starts praying, because I told her about it was shortly after my last miscarriage, which was in August, which was a really tough, I really struggled with that one. But anyway, her and I, so we were praying over, she was praying for me, praying over my body, praying over my womb, praying for protection, for the babies, and, for that, implantation and whatnot. And so she's praying over my womb, and all of a sudden she gets a vision again. And so she starts saying, so I'm not going to tell you that this means twins, but this is just what I'm seeing. So she had seen what she called a capsule, and because she was praying for God to protect my womb, like encapsulate it. And all of a sudden she said she saw a capsule with a crown on top. So it's this capsule, a crown is on top. And then all of a sudden she sees the crown split into 2 crowns on top of this capsule. And so she's just, walking me through what she's seeing. So I, of course, am like, oh my gosh, does that mean twins? Does that, and I'm trying to like, what else could it mean? She was praying over my womb, 2 crowns, like crowns go on heads of humans, and so I'm thinking maybe that is what it means, that I'm going to have twins. And so I come home and I tell my family about it, my husband and our 2 boys, and they're like, oh my gosh. And I'm like, well, what do you guys think it means? And they're like, well, obviously we think it means you're having twins, probably, And so my husband's like, oh goodness, oh no, oh gosh, we're going to maybe have twins. And so anyway, then I'm just, for the next like couple weeks, I'm just kind of having fun with the idea, and I'm on Pinterest and I'm looking at twin things, and twin babies and twin strollers, and just all the twin things on Pinterest. I'm just kind of having fun with the idea and kind of getting excited about the idea that that's something that could happen. So then fast forward to Thanksgiving, we go up to my parents' house, and my stepmom is making dinner, and I'm talking to her, and I tell her that I had a dream about her. So I'm a big dreamer, and I pay attention to my dreams, and I like to kind of try to figure out what dreams mean, and seek out the interpretation of the dreams and stuff, and God has spoken to me a lot through dreams. So and he speaks to a lot of people through dreams, not just me. It's all over in the Bible. I mean, it's a thing. So I go to her and I'm like, oh, I had a dream about you last night. And she's like, oh, I had a dream about you too. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I start telling her about my dream, and she's making dinner, and we finish. And a few minutes later, she's like, oh, well, let me tell you about my dream. And I was like, oh yeah, tell me. And she's like, I had a dream that you were pregnant with twins. You were just huge pregnant with twins. And Jeremy was going, oh no, we're having twins, just like he responded when I, told him about the idea of us possibly having twins. And so I immediately, as soon as she says, I had a dream you were pregnant with twins, because she has dreams about us being pregnant when we're shortly before we have babies. It's happened in the past with me, my cousin, my sister. So anyway, so as soon as she tells me that she had this dream, like, it was like, it just hit me. The confirmation just hit me, and I was like, oh my gosh, babe. And I, told my husband, I'm like, did you hear that? Did you just hear what mom said? And I start crying, because it just felt like such confirmation to me. And I told them, like, that I had been thinking, I wonder if God's going to bless me with twins because of my miscarriages. Well, my friend Amy was there at the same time. She's actually my stepmom's friend, my friend as well. But she says, well, that's what happened to me. She says, I miscarried and then we had twins. And so it was just this really cool moment and really cool like confirmation. And again, it's just like that hope, rises up. And so that is something that has happened to me over and over and over again in this journey of, praying about whether or not we're supposed to have kids, and, just that whole journey of wanting kids and praying about it, and then kind of getting discouraged and walking away from it. And then God reminding me, it's like God keeps reminding me not to give up hope, and that this is, his plan for us. So in my mind now I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to start praying about babies. I'm praying for twins. I'm welcoming twins, basically. I'm speaking and praying as if we're going to have multiples. We're not just having one, we're having double. And so I'm preparing myself in my heart and my mind, and yeah, we're just kind of preparing ourselves for the idea that we might have twins. And so, okay, so then today, I'm going to jump actually to today's word, and then I'll talk about the numbers. So then today, I'm listening to a sermon by Pastor Stephen Furtick. I love listening to him, and I'll link that sermon below here. Anyway, he's doing this whole sermon on how God made us. Like, how did God make you? And what were we made for? Look at how you were created. And, he was discussing like how people are trying to fit in places that they're not meant to fit in. And so he's using the analogy of like a bird and a fish, and how a bird can't live in a fish tank and a fish can't fly, And so by the end of this, he just really led me to believe, because I told you guys I'm not going into nursing, and so I've been kind of job searching and trying to figure out what I'm going to do for a job, and I'm looking at like going to work somewhere full time. Although God has put other things on my heart, which is going to be my next video that I make. God has put other things on my heart, but I've been searching for a job, because I'm like, oh, I'm not going to go into nursing. And so basically what I'm feeling is God is showing me that he's given me this promise, and these other desires that keep coming up, these other ideas that keep coming up in my head about what we want to do, where we want to go, what I want to do for a living, like they're not all aligning with this promise. And so what I think he's saying, and I even heard a quote the other day, is you can't have this one desire and this one promise that God has given you, and then have 15 other desires that are not compatible with that one desire. And so it just hit me today, and I wrote down, question for myself: if God gave you a promise that you are going to have twins or babies in general, why are you trying to get a full-time job so that you can eventually quit, be a stay-at-home mom? Because I know myself, I'm not gonna want to work outside of the home when I've been waiting on this promise for 8 years. I'm not gonna receive the promise and then go out and find a daycare to take care of babies while I'm in nursing school or I'm working. And so why are you trying to find a full-time job so that you can eventually quit to be a stay-at-home mom? And why put all that time and effort into becoming established within this, wherever I would work, putting all that effort towards that, learning that new position, whatever, knowing that eventually I'd have to leave them because I'm going to eventually have children and I'm going to be a stay-at-home mom with those children. And so why not prepare my life right now as if I'm pregnant and expecting right now? Like, I know it's coming. So I should be preparing my life for that, and be thinking about, okay, what would I want to do for a living if I've got 2 babies at home? And I already kind of know what that is. Like I said, that's what the next video is going to be about. it's working from home is what I would want to do. So it just really hit me like today. It really hit me, and God's just been showing me for the last couple days that, because I was really struggling trying to figure out all this, figure all this out with nursing and not nursing and blah, 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 that like God has been orchestrating all this. And with this whole number thing that just came up, God was showing me through these numbers that I was seeing that God is beginning to open doors and shut doors. And I'm seeing that big time. Like God shut the door of nursing for me right now. He shut the door when my grandma needed me to take care of her. He shut that door because I was gonna start in January. Okay, then I'm pursuing it a second time. He shuts that door because I have to be vaccinated and I'm choosing not to get vaccinated. I refuse. That's a non-negotiable for me. So he shut that door. And so, yeah, so I just feel like God is orchestrating all of this, everything that's taking place right now, in order to prepare me for the promise. And then the last thing that Stephen Furtick said that I wrote down, I just thought was good. He said, how do you know what you were made for? Spend time with your maker. That's how you'll know what you're made for, is by spending time with your maker. He will show you what you're made for. And he explained that, like, when you look at what something was made for, what the purpose is of something, like a pen or a pencil, whatever, you know what it's made for by how it was created. Like, it's sleek, it's comfortable to be held by a hand because it's made to write. It holds ink. It's made to write with, right? And so you can begin to look at yourself, like, what was I made for? How did God create me? What are my gifts and talents? What are my dispositions? What are things I like? What am I passionate about? What are things that come easy to me? And some things take hard work, so that's not necessarily one of them. But yeah, what are your gifts and talents? What are your passions? How were you made? What's your body type? Like, I mean, you know what I mean? Just get to know yourself and spend time with yourself to figure out, like, this, how did God create me? And what did he create me for? Where do I fit in the best? And what fits me the best? So anyway, that was just a huge eye-opener to me, and confirmation again about, I mean, just huge. Like, come on, you're waiting for this promise. Why are you trying to, like, do a million other things right now that are not compatible with the promise that God has given you, that you're waiting on? So that was huge for me. So then the next thing real quick is I just want to talk about numbers. So honestly, I want to say it was about the same time. It's been a few months since I've been seeing, it's been about 2 or 3 months, I would say, when I started seeing triple numbers. And it started off with me seeing 333, 444. I just kept seeing, like, on the clock, triples. And so I kind of started to look into what those could mean, what those numbers mean. There were some scriptures attached to them. Is it Isaiah or Jeremiah? I think it's Jeremiah 33:3 says, come to me and I will show you great and mighty things. Basically, I'm paraphrasing. But it's basically saying, like, come to me and ask of me and I will show you great and mighty things. And so that was kind of where that led me. And then it's just continuing on and on and on. I keep seeing triple numbers. I start to tell my family about it. And, they start to realize, like, when they're with me, they're seeing triple numbers. I'm seeing 222 all the time. I mean, I'm seeing it everywhere. It's crazy. So I started to look up, what those could mean. Well, I found a video on YouTube, and in the comments of that video, there was a resource that someone had posted down below, and it was just, it's a really cool resource that this lady came up with through years of her experience with the same thing. People experiencing triple numbers, her seeing triple numbers, and what it could mean. And when you do look up videos about where Christians are explaining numbers and what they could mean, they always say, like, they're not into numerology. And so, like, but God, so it's not like the study of numbers or anything like that. It's not, you have to be, it has to be biblical, I guess is what I'm saying. And so that's basically what they do, is she's compiled this biblically through scripture and whatnot to come up with what these numbers mean. And so real quick, I'm just going to give you an example of what like 111, for instance, means. And so I saw that today when I was preparing for this video. Actually, I saw, Hebrews 11, 1 through 11. And then I saw on the time it was 111. So I've just been seeing that a lot. And so, yeah, just an example. So 111 or 1111 is an awakening, a wake-up call, a fresh spiritual awakening into more supernatural favor and provision to take possessions of promises, transition and alignment, revival. God is bringing life to the dead things and places. God is breathing encounters over you to wake you up into spiritual clarity, fresh, connected relationships with Him, and awakened sense of identity in God, which is totally, this whole thing is the journey I've been on for the last few months. Identity in God and your exciting eternal purpose. And the scriptures that they shared were Isaiah 11:11, John 11:11, and Deuteronomy 11:11. So anyway, that's just an example. And then 222 was the other one that was popping up a lot. And then you guys just, I'm sure, saw that it was 2/22/22 on, February 22nd of 22. There's just been a lot of twos. And so, and then twins, twos, I don't know, just lots of twos. So 222 or 22, so either 22, 222 or 2222, all can represent an open door, double doors, authority,